Today, you will live the life of the son of an American diplomat posted to China. At 4:47 in Beijing, emergency lights wake the compound. Your father enters without knocking. One suitcase, he says. The convoy leaves in 40 minutes. On your phone, fighter jets cross a gray sea. Then Lin texts, "Did your country just start this?" 3 years earlier, you were 13, stepping off a plane with a diplomatic passport and a red backpack. A driver opened the door. A guarded apartment waited. Beijing stretched beyond the glass, bright enough to feel infinite. You thought you had been handed the greatest adventure of your life. Chapter 1. The Privilege of Exit. The embassy apartment stood above traffic and winter steam. Your elevator required a key. The gate required a list. From your bedroom, the city looked open. From the lobby, every exit came with a guard, a route, and a return time. Your school gathered children from dozens of countries. Lunch moved between English, Korean, French, and Mandarin. Everyone had arrived from somewhere else, and everyone might vanish before graduation. Friendships formed quickly because nobody trusted the calendar. At first, diplomatic status felt like a secret superpower. Special plates opened checkpoints. Invitations placed your family in rooms seen on television. When paperwork trapped other families for weeks, your passport turned walls into doors. You did not yet understand that the most important door opened outward. Your father gave you rules no child wanted. Do not photograph security posts. Do not repeat names from dinner. Treat every private room as if it might not be private. The mission decided your route, your posts, and sometimes your friends. Part of the United States surrounded you like an invisible fence. Chapter 2. The First Crack. Washington announces tighter controls on advanced chips and manufacturing tools. Your father calls it strategic denial during a secure call. At school, Lin calls it strangulation. His older sister's laboratory loses a foreign contract that afternoon. By Friday, half her team is sent home. At Lin's apartment, the dinner table is quieter than usual. His sister places her employee badge beside an untouched bowl. His mother calculates rent on a phone. No one blames you. That is worse. You hear your father's phrase in your head. Acceptable economic pressure. For the first time, policy has a face you love. The next morning, American news shows clean diagrams of protected technology. Chinese news shows workers leaving a factory. Both are true. Neither is complete. Classmates ask you to defend a policy you did not choose. You type a message to Lin, erase it, and watch the empty chat become an accusation. Lin finally writes, "Your government calls this security because it is not your salary." You answer too quickly. Your government calls every limit containment. 3 dots appear, disappear, then return. He sends one sentence. You always have an exit. The words land harder than anger because they are true. You begin dividing every conversation into 2 columns. What America fears and what China fears. One column contains stolen designs, military systems, and dependence. The other contains humiliation, blocked futures, and foreign pressure. In the middle sits Lin's sister, unemployed by an argument neither of you can control. Chapter 3. 2 versions. A United States destroyer enters the Taiwan Strait during a wave of Chinese military drills. Near midnight, a Chinese warship cuts across its path. No shots are fired. For 11 seconds, 2 crews race toward a decision that could change millions of lives. The mission locks its gates. Your school bus is canceled. Chinese platforms replay the close pass as resistance to provocation. American networks call it dangerous coercion. The same gray water becomes 2 different moral universes. Lin has relatives across the strait in Fujian. Your father's colleagues have families on the destroyer. Your father helps draft a statement warning against escalation. It is careful, legal, and cold. A reporter asks whether America created the danger by being there. He pauses, then says navigation cannot require permission. By breakfast, the clip is everywhere. At school, your last name enters the room before you do. A teacher asks you to argue the American position. Lin is asked to argue China's. The exercise becomes a courtroom. He describes aircraft over his aunt's home. You describe sailors ordered through a narrowing channel. When the bell rings, nobody moves. You have both spoken honestly, and honesty has made the friendship less safe. Then each country expels 2 diplomats after a cyber accusation neither side proves in public. One is the woman who brings soup when your mother is ill. Her apartment is sealed before sunset. Your father removes her name from a briefing book. You realize diplomacy does not prevent the rupture. Sometimes it organizes the rupture. Chapter 4. The Contact. Security officers tell your father that Lin's uncle works at a state-linked research institute. They do not call Lin a spy. They use softer words: proximity, vulnerability, access. Your father asks you to create distance. The friendship is translated into a risk chart before you are allowed to defend it. You explode. You accuse him of seeing threats instead of people. He answers that threats use people precisely because people are real. Then he asks whether Lin has ever requested a document, a schedule, a photograph. The answer is no, but the question remains in the room, poisoning memories that once felt innocent. You meet Lin on the basketball court in freezing rain. Both phones are off. He knows about the review. His uncle was questioned too. Lin says your countries have turned 2 teenagers into evidence. You ask whether he ever used you. His face changes. For 1 second, fear defeats trust. You hate yourself before he answers. That night, a clipped video of your father's statement spreads without his warning against escalation. Protesters surge toward the compound. Bottles strike the outer wall. The school bus turns around under police escort. On a security monitor, you see Lin in the crowd, pushing toward the gate. You cannot tell whether he came to confront you or save someone. He was searching for his sister, pulled into the protest after demanding her job back. You learn this only after accusing him. Lin says your government hurt his family. Your security treated him like an operation, and you still made yourself a victim. You have an answer for each charge. You no longer trust any of them. Chapter 5, 40 minutes. At 4:47, the threat level changes. Dependents must leave before roads close. There is no siren, only the secure message, the gray sea on television, and your father saying, "One suitcase." Government can uproot a family without raising its voice. You pack the subway card, Lin's notebook, your school jersey, and the basketball wrapped in newspaper. The suitcase will not close. Clothes come out. Photographs go in. Every object becomes a vote on which life was real. Your father stands at the door, counting minutes while you refuse to move faster. The convoy reaches an intersection blocked by protesters. Motorcycles push a narrow lane through the crowd. Your father admits the statement he wrote was used to harden both sides. You ask, are we leaving because we are right or because we can? He looks at the armored glass and says nothing. At the airport, Lin sends a voice message. Do not use me to prove China is good or bad, he says. Remember what fear made us do to each other. Then he adds, my sister found a temporary job. My uncle is still being questioned. I was coming to the gate because she was there. You listen until boarding closes. Final chapter, what the border left. Back in Virginia, adults ask what China was really like. You write the expected college essay. Warships, guarded compounds, a friendship trapped between flags. Then you delete the clever conclusion. Lin asked not to become your evidence. And grief does not become honest just because it is well written. Years later, you return to Beijing alone. No diplomatic plate. You buy a subway ticket, miss a transfer, and carry your suitcase up the stairs. The inconvenience feels honest. For the first time, access depends less on your father's title than on your willingness to be lost. Lin meets you on the same court. He is taller and uninterested in performing forgiveness. You apologize for turning fear into suspicion. He apologizes for turning your family into a flag. Neither apology repairs the missing years. It makes the next conversation possible, which is smaller than justice and more useful than innocence. Later, the Foreign Service offers you a place. You accept, but add a rule to every contact plan you write. Never turn a relationship into access without informed consent. A supervisor calls it inefficient. You keep it. Conflict taught you that efficiency is often the name power gives to someone else's cost. On your first posting, another crisis fills every screen. The official car waits downstairs. You pass it and take the train to meet a student who challenged your report. You close the notebook and listen first. A passport can open a border. Power can force an exit. But belonging begins when you stay inside another person's truth long enough to let it change your own.